All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling, where you're putting in all the work, doing everything you're supposed to, but you just feel completely undervalued? It's an awful feeling, right? Well, today we're going to explore a really powerful idea. What if your value isn't actually about you, but about where you are?
I mean, just think about something as simple as a bottle of water. You go to the supermarket and maybe it's, 50 cents? But then you take that exact same bottle, no changes at all, to the airport and bam, it's suddenly $5. The water is the same, the plastic is the same, the only thing that changed was the location. The place is what set the price.
So that gets you thinking, doesn't it? It leads to a pretty big question, and it's really at the heart of what we're talking about today. Could it be that your value is also determined by where you are? Let's unpack this with a simple, but I think you'll find a really profound story.
All right, so our story starts with a young guy named Thomas. And, he was really struggling, feeling kind of lost, unappreciated, like he was just a small fish in a big, indifferent pond. And right before he was about to head out on his own, his wise old father decided he needed one last lesson. And it all started with this old, beat-up, 200-year-old watch. And when I say beat up, I mean it. This thing looked like it had been through a war. It's 200 years old, the copper was literally turning green, the glass was all scratched up, the strap was busted. I mean, to anybody just glancing at it, it was just junk. You can imagine Thomas was probably thinking, thanks, Dad, I think.
But his dad, he had a plan. He gives Thomas this really simple but kind of strange request. He says, take this watch to the pawn shop on the corner and just see how much they'll offer you. And this was the first step on a pretty incredible journey.
And so here we go. This is the pawn shop test. This is where Thomas is about to get his first real lesson in how the world, or at least a certain part of it, values things that look old and worn out. Oh man, the reaction was just brutal and fast. The pawn shop owner, he barely even looks at it. To him, this thing isn't some cool antique, it's just old. And in his world, his exact words were, old means worthless. Ouch. Just a total, brutal dismissal.
So what was the offer? $5. A measly $5. And not even for the watch itself, not for its history or its craftsmanship, nope. Just for the scrap metal. $5. That's the value that this specific place put on a 200-year-old family heirloom.
So Thomas goes back, feeling pretty dejected, right? And his father sends him out again, this time to a coffee shop. But the result there was, honestly, even worse. In a place full of people rushing around, staring at their laptops and phones, nobody even bothered to look up. It wasn't even a lowball offer, it was just complete and utter indifference. You can start to see a pattern here, can't you? But the father had one last stop in mind for Thomas. The City Museum. Now, this is an environment with a completely different perspective, right? They have a different understanding of history, of craftsmanship, a totally different way of seeing value. And this is where the story absolutely flips on its head.
And the curator's reaction? It was night and day. He didn't see junk at all. He saw history. He saw a work of art. I mean, the guy puts on white gloves, handles it like it's the most delicate thing in the world, and his eyes just light up. He immediately recognizes it for what it is. A masterpiece from a legendary craftsman, a piece they literally thought was lost forever.
And the offer, $1 million. Just look at that number. Think about that journey. From $5 in a dusty pawn shop to $1 million in a museum. The watch was exactly the same. The green copper was still there. The scratches were still on the glass. The only thing that changed was the environment it was in. So you can imagine Thomas, right? He runs home, completely blown away, probably a little confused, and his father finally explains the real lesson behind this whole thing. And surprise, it was never really about the watch.
And here it is, the key takeaway, the whole point of the story. The watch never changed. Only the place did. Its real, intrinsic value was always there, simmering under the surface. But it could only be seen, only be recognized, and truly appreciated by the right people in the right environment. And that's when his father connects all the dots for him, for his son's own life, with this incredible piece of wisdom. He says, don't find yourself in the wrong place and get angry if you are not valued. Those who know your value are those who appreciate you. See, the problem isn't always you. Sometimes it's just a mismatch between who you are and where you are.
Okay, so that's a fantastic story, right? But what do we do with it?
How do we actually apply this to our own lives, our careers, our relationships? Well, it all comes down to this idea. You have to consciously go out and find your own museum.
And it really kind of boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you've got to know your own intrinsic worth. What are your skills, your passions, your unique history? What makes you, you? Second, you have to be brutally honest with yourself and identify the pawn shops in your life. The places, the people, the jobs that only offer you $5 for who you are. And finally, step 3, you have to actively seek out your museum, the environment where your true worth isn't just seen, but it's celebrated.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this one powerful line. Go where you are celebrated, not where you are just tolerated. Stop settling for being a background character in someone else's story. Find the place where you're the main exhibit.
And that really just leaves us with one final, very personal question to think about. I want you to take a hard look at your life right now. Your job, your friends, your situation. Are you a masterpiece sitting on the dusty shelf of a pawn shop, just waiting for someone to decide you're only worth $5? And more importantly, what would it take for you to finally walk out that door and find your museum?